I quit. Have you ever actually uttered those words in your career ever? How about actually trying to consult the scriptures on what the Bible teaches us about quitting our jobs? There isn't much about the topic of quitting per se in the scriptures. In the King James Version, the word quitting or quit is only used, I think, 3 times. In the NASB, maybe once, and in the NIV, none. More commonly, the Bible references cease or stop instead of quit. But when it comes to the very emotional thing that we feel when we want to walk away from our job, declaring I cease is obviously really ridiculous. It kind of sounds Elizabethan. It just doesn't have the impact. The question is whether or not to stay in the job where the difficult things are happening and try to work things out. Keep watching and I'll explore why people quit and a few reasons why we may want to remain. Hi, my name is Shawn Sommerkamp and this is Motivationeer Christian Coaching. I post 2 videos a week, so please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can be reminded when I do. Please also consider becoming a member at Motivationeer.com. Your membership really supports this channel. Thank you. If you're like me, your parents probably taught you from the very early stages of your development to not quit, to not give up. The lesson is ultimately in perseverance. And this is surely a topic covered extensively in God's Word. One of my favorite passages is Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Like this passage, the Bible addresses perseverance, the not growing weary or losing heart, often, because human beings are very tempted to quit often. At least here in the United States, our natural culture has been, if you're uncomfortable with something, just quit, just walk away. It's become very easy for us to just give up. In fact, before the COVID pandemic hit, an average of 2 million Americans were quitting their jobs, get this, each month. You can actually look it up. And I do believe we're going to get back to normal again as far as our economic job outlook once COVID kind of moves on, and we'll kind of get back to that same level of quitting. I'm working with a lot of clients right now that aren't necessarily quitting, but they are moving into other companies even during this pandemic, actually quite easily. People quit their jobs for all sorts of reasons. And if you did a quick search on Google and compiled your own list of why people quit, you'd get something very similar to this. Here's kind of the list of rankings from why people quit most often to least often, in that order. Number 1, poor relationships with our boss. I actually did a video about this about 9 months ago before COVID leapt into our lives. Number 2, boring or unchallenging work. Number 3, bad coworker relationships. Number 4, a lack of independence. Number 5, the financial stability of the company. Number 6, perhaps most obviously, low growth potential, whether it be in wages or promotion opportunities. And then finally, excessive overtime or lots of stress. That you would think that'd be higher up on the list. It's not. At first glance, these are all good reasons to leave a job. I'm guessing you've probably experienced one or more of these at least once or multiple times in your career. It's common. They're common. And if you have that desired skill set, finding a new job is not going to be that difficult. So here's the question to consider. What if God actually wants us to stay and try to work things out? Do you have a bad boss? Do you have a boatload of hours that you're working way beyond your capacity to keep pushing yourself? Are you being micromanaged? Is your company doing poorly or the culture just caustic? Are you underpaid? Well, maybe another great question is, what other options do we have other than quitting? What I have found is, in the midst of the difficulty, few people can actually answer that question, which makes sense because inside that negative emotion we're feeling, we start to get blocked. We don't see clearly the way forward. We certainly don't see clearly other options, so we quit. And I think the Bible talks so much about perseverance because in human nature, it's much easier to quit than to persevere. So what I want to do with this video is ask you to consider this instead. There may be an opportunity within our situation specifically to address a situation going on deep within us spiritually, or maybe a skills gap, or maybe a shortcoming in our own leadership, or maybe even a harmful bias. There could be many other reasons that can only be learned and overcome by staying. This difficulty might give us a chance to level up our character. Here's something else to consider. If we get into the habit of quitting when things get tough, we may be developing a quitter attitude or a quitter mindset. It's one thing to quit a job. It's another thing altogether to become a quitter. It would be great if there was some kind of measurement tool or statistical scale that we could use to determine how close we are to be getting into that quitter mindset, because maybe we've quit more times for the wrong reasons than we'd like to admit. I don't have such a tool. I don't think a tool exists like that. I've looked for it. I can't find it. If you know of one, please leave it below in the comments. However, I do want to offer from my own experience in my own life, as well as coaching many, many people over the years, what symptoms of a quitter attitude looks like so that we can kind of see it coming before it takes us over. And I'm going to give you a few great passages to illustrate each one of these concepts. We might have developed a quitter mentality if we frequently seem to make excuses, like those who refuse the invitation to the great banquet in Luke chapter 14, verses 15 through 24. We might have developed a quitter mentality if we tend to blame others for the situation that we may have caused, like Ahab blamed Elijah for all of Israel's troubles in 1 Kings chapter 18, verses 17 through 18. We might have developed a quitter mentality if we refuse to face the problem head on, like in Jonah's situation when he ran away in Jonah chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. We may have developed a quitter mentality if we deliberately avoid facing tough decisions, like Lot wanting to stay in Sodom in Genesis chapter 19, verses 15 through 16. We may have developed a quitter mentality if we tend to give up easily when pressure starts getting increased on us, like in the parable of the four soils, the rocky soil, in Matthew chapter 13, verses 20 through 21. Or we might have developed a quitter mentality if we often and continually hold a pessimistic view of whatever job we have, whatever company we're working at. Consider the 10 of the 12 spies that were sent into the promised land to check it out in Numbers chapter 13, verse 31. By stating all of these early indicators, I'm not saying that we are supposed to, without doubt, stay in a situation and just suffer through it until we figure out a way of fixing it. I'm not saying that. Sometimes it is right to leave our company or to leave our job. What I am saying, it is in our best long-term interest to always consider all of the options before making a final decision on one. And I'm recommending that we look more closely at these symptoms I've just described with their biblical counterpart and really determine if we're developing a quitter mentality. If one or more of those symptoms, those early indicators, are present in our heart, staying may pave the way for tremendous growth in our character. And if we do stay, we can always trust that God will see us through it. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for 2 new videos each week. Tell me in the comments below about your career situation, and I'll make a video for you with a shout out. You can also become a member at Motivationeer.com. Your career is not just a way to make a living, it's a way to transform the world.